Hey everyone, my name is Andrea. I'm so excited to be here with you today. Today, I'll be talking about the formula for experience design. A little bit of background on myself. So again, my name is Andrea. My pronouns are she, her, and I have worked across many different industries, including events, marketing, recruiting, and diversity. For all of the logos in the second and third row, you'll see, you probably will recognize a few of them. So I've been in the tech industry for over 10 years, planning events for their marketing and recruiting teams. The top row of logos is actually a list of businesses that I own. So I also, while working in tech, was side hustling, building my own empire, if you will, and trying to achieve success on my own. And so I actually did leave tech successfully and have been running Firewood events full time since November. So we're just past our 6-month anniversary, which is really exciting. So my brand of businesses is all to help small business owners and corporations deliver for their clients, whether it's through events, whether it's through diversity and inclusion, or whether it's with gift boxes that contain all Black and Latinx owned products. So when you think about events, what comes to mind first? For me, what comes to mind is like a beautiful sit-down family-style meal with some florals involved, maybe a webinar, something virtual with folks on camera and video and people talking to you. Maybe they have screen or slides, pardon me, like I do today. What I really think about is how we can use events to stand out. How can we use event marketing to help our businesses differentiate from our competitors? And so oftentimes in the marketing space these days, and especially in this recessionary period that we're going through, a lot of times marketing is focused on the digital. It's focused on social media marketing. It's focused on SEO and SEM. But what I think we're failing to recognize, and what some of these larger corporations have figured out, is in-person and virtual events are a touch point that are just as, if not more productive than some of these digital and social channels that we're really focused on. And so today, I really want to talk about how you can use experience design to build memorable events that help you increase your prospects, your customers, and ultimately your bottom line. And so today, like I said, we'll be discussing the definition of experience design. So what is it? How does it apply to events? And then also, what is the formula for implementation? So if you're bought in, you're like, yes, experience design is what I need. This is how I'm going to grow my business. But you're questioning, okay, exactly how do I do that? So we can talk about the formula and some different touch points that you can establish to build your business's event marketing. And so first, experience design, and sometimes we'll see this as XD. So experience design is intentionally designing unique and memorable experiences, such as events, that address the motivations of your key audience personas. So we'll break down this definition throughout our talk today, but the first thing I want to sort of talk about is intentionally designing. So this really means like we are being so thoughtful and so careful about every single moment of the event, no matter if it's in person or virtual. We're creating these unique and memorable experiences. So think about a time when perhaps you have gone to an event and you've seen a celebrity speaker, or you've seen a CEO that you really admire, or somebody on the stage that you're like, wow, this was amazing. Like, you still remember that event, right? It really stuck with you. Also, maybe there was an event that you went to that they had headshots offered. So whether that was in person or, I've done events with virtual headshots as well. And maybe you still use that headshot today. Do you remember the name of the company that hosted that for you? Probably yes, right? And so another way to create these unique and memorable experiences is tying it to something that somebody needs. And finally, have you ever been to a conference that ended in like the most epic party, right? And so maybe there was a famous DJ, maybe they had the best light show you've ever seen, maybe it was the closest you've ever been to this musician, but it was just like so epic, you can't forget it. Again, do you remember the brand that hosted that conference that got you to be in that room? And oftentimes the answer is yes, if it was memorable in either a very positive or a very negative way, but let's hope for positive today, right? And so all of that to say, the goal of this event experience design for events is to create emotions and memories. those emotions and memories keep attendees bonded to the brand or the product. And so our goal, we want to create these memories and emotions to then establish the bonds with the product or the brand. And then that goes to building our brand awareness and our customer loyalty. And what does that mean? That means we're going to generate leads and revenue. And in summary, this means more money, right? And so we definitely want to go down this ladder through all these steps. But at the end of the day, we're trying to grow our businesses. We're trying to create generational wealth. And so it's important that we are taking all the steps necessary to get there. So again, emotions and memories, we're establishing bonds, we're building the brand awareness and loyalty, and finally generating leads and revenue. And so in terms of how to implement this, this is when we get into the nitty gritty, we get into the details. And I've really broken this out into 3 sections. The first is study your audience. So who are you speaking to? Who are you trying to acquire? How do your customers identify? How do your prospects identify? What differentiates them? What makes them similar? So really drilling down into who your audience is and really studying that. From there, we're going to then map the journey. So what is the journey from awareness to attending an event and hearing from you afterwards with a feedback survey and some post-event comms? What happens at each touch point in between for the audience? How does that journey how does it differ, depending on who the audience is? And so we want to make sure that we're thinking about each different piece of their journey and how we can make it the most memorable, again, playing on those emotions to create those bonds. And finally, we're going to design some wow moments, okay? So this is like when you see someone who attended an event online and you see them on social media and you're like, damn, I wish I was there. Like, these are the wow moments, the parts of the event where people are going to share it with their friends. They're going to post it on social media. They're going to write a blog about their experience. They're maybe even going to try to steal the idea for themselves. So thinking about the wow moments, those are the parts of the event that really, really stick with the attendee and with your audience. And so first, we want to get into the know your audience section. So we're going to look at some audience data. And so a first question is, who are they? What are their goals? What motivates them or frustrates them? What do they care about? And what are their psychological, cognitive, emotional, social, and environmental requirements? And so this is not an exhaustive list. There are so many questions that you could ask to get to know your audience, but this is a good place to get started, right? And so, pardon me, so we want to see who they are. And so first we can ask questions like, what is their age? What is their gender? Excuse me, what is their ethnicity? Maybe their LGBTQ plus status. Are they married or single? Maybe even divorced or separated? Are they parents with children? Are they caretakers of elderly parents? Are they just taking care of themselves? Where are they located? Are they in the US, outside of the US? Maybe they are all in one state or all in one physical metropolitan area. Dietary restrictions, are they meat eaters? Are they vegetarians, vegans, etc.? And so really thinking about the demographics of your audience. And so let's say that we have polled the audience, we've taken all of the data that we can, and we've learned that our audience has a lot of parents. So how do we use this in the experience design of our events? So we think about childcare. So maybe it's an in-person event and we have a room where folks can drop their children off and be watched by a licensed babysitter. Or it's a virtual event where there's a breakout room and we allow people to sign in twice, and the breakout room has a teacher or a magician or some sort of entertainment. So their child can be sort of on the side in a breakout room being entertained while the parent is participating in the event. Maybe we polled the crowd and they're younger. They're all under the age of 25, maybe 18 to 25 is your target demographic. Then we're thinking about how to use technology a little bit more to engage this audience, whether it's an event app, maybe it's a social media integration, maybe it's a custom overlay on Instagram or Snapchat. So thinking about how to engage folks based on their use of technology, essentially. If your audience is spread across the US, maybe we want to do a digital event instead of an in-person event. So this is something that now post-COVID, or kind of post, we have more access to digital event tools, things that can do polling questions and surveys, and have chat messages, and obviously video chats like Zoom. And there's so many new and thriving digital event businesses that we can tap into, knowing that our audience is spread out. Excuse me. And then maybe they're mostly vegetarian. And so if you're planning an in-person event, maybe thinking about having your menu be veggie forward. So meaning, instead of picking the meat items first and then leaving the vegetarians and vegans sort of secondary, picking the vegetarian items first and then saying, if you want, you can add meat to this item. It's a small thing that would make someone feel really welcome in the space, really included. And again, it sort of boosts those emotions and those memories that we're trying to get to create those bonds. And so the second question we had there was goals. What are our audience's goals? So here are some examples of things that you might discover. So they might be interested in learning something new. They might be interested in gaining exclusive access. So this could be to a person, to a product, to a thing. Maybe they're going to be early testers of your product. Perhaps they want to build community, and that's why they're reaching out. That's why they want to attend the event. Sometimes we just want to feel special, and that's cool too. So I think this one's a pretty wide-reaching one for most audiences. How can we make them feel special, and how can we help them have fun? So again, some examples here. So if your audience is looking to learn something new, maybe the format of the event is a masterclass or a webinar, something where you're bringing in an expert in the field, or you yourself are the expert if your business is service-based, right? And you're coming in and teaching them something. And so the content of the event is very focused on that educational piece. Perhaps their goals are to gain exclusive access. And so this is where bringing in a special guest, a celebrity, a famous speaker, someone where they wouldn't usually have access to these people on the street, for example, and you can be the connector. You can help them gain that access that they're looking to have. Build community. So if that's their goal, perhaps we think about even connecting with them post or pre-event through a group chat in Slack. I know that I am still a member of a number of group chats in Slack and WhatsApp from events that I've attended. And when they're industry events, I still reach out to them and I say, hey, do you have a vendor who does X, Y, Z? Or, hey, is anyone else attending this? And it really does continue that community. I swear to you, I'm still in groups from 2, 3, 4 years ago, and I still feel so connected to them. So thinking about building community, not just at the event, but before and after. Feeling special, maybe sending a personalized gift or having personalized gift bags at your event if it's in person, or sending them to their house if it's virtual, something to make them feel like you thought of them specifically and as an individual. And then have fun. If that is their goal, think about the entertainment. So, there were a lot of events once digital and virtual events exploded. A lot of events were just a talking head. It was just one person talking to the audience, reading some really boring slides, and that was it. And so we really need to get creative. We need to think about how to bring entertainment into the virtual world in a way that we have in in-person events. So maybe there's a dance party in the middle. Maybe there's a DJ that plays during the transition times between sessions. Maybe we're having sound meditation or breathing exercises to kick off the event. So really thinking about how we could add some variety and entertainment so that folks have fun. And obviously these are just a few examples. So we can talk about examples all day, every day. I love it. Throw some in the chat if you have them as well. We also had a question about motivators and frustration points, also known as pain points. So these are the behaviors of the audience members that we want to identify in regards to what motivates them to take action, to purchase, or engage with the brand, or what prevents them from doing those things, right? And so we can think about your product experience. If you've maybe had an experience, let's say you went to get tech support, you either called or you went in person, and you had a terrible experience and you said, this is a frustration, I am never buying XYZ product again, right? that would be on your list of frustrations if we were doing an audience persona on you. And so versus if you have maybe a great customer service experience, that would be on your list of motivators. And so really thinking deeply about what the shared motivators and frustrations are for the audience. And so, for example, maybe someone is motivated to make a purchase if the business is owned by a Black woman. Being a Black woman myself, this is something I relate to. And so oftentimes when I'm looking for products and services, I'm really looking for who the founder is, because I want to use my money wisely and strategically and intentionally. And so perhaps you haven't added a photo or a description of yourself in your marketing or on your website, right? You want to be sort of anonymous, which is cute, but maybe you're missing out on the audience that is motivated by knowing who the founder is and what their identity is. And then another example is a frustration. So maybe I'm frustrated by companies that produce environmental waste. I'm really conscious about sustainability, the environment, etc. And so something that I want to think about is ensuring that the gift boxes that I use don't have any plastics and have all compostable materials. So this is a really close to home example because my gift box business, again, we make sure that we use all compostable materials because we don't want to contribute more waste. So exactly what we were thinking about with our audience was those who are frustrated by the overuse of single-use plastics. And so again, these are so custom to the type of business that you have, whether it's service-based, product-based, maybe it's digital, it's physical, etc. Like customize these motivations and frustrations to your business type. And then next we'll get into psychological. So the psychological requirements, we need to understand an attendee's personality, maybe their role in their house or at work, their status, their public status perhaps, and their image that they're trying to maintain or maybe even reach. And so with this, we want to think about how our attendees want to be perceived by their peers or their colleagues at an event, and how does our event design enable this? If they want to be perceived as an expert, do we give the audience a chance to vocalize their ideas and opinions? Like if they want to be perceived as a collaborator, are there any points of collaboration in the event that we're hosting? Maybe they want to be perceived as an early adopter, right? Have you perhaps sent them the products that you sell ahead of time so that they can start posting about it? So when they attend the event, they're like, oh, I've been using this for months. So thinking through these different options here as it relates to their personality, role, status, and image. Then we think of cognitive requirements. And so this involves understanding how the psychological aspects influence an attendee's expectations, motivations, and memories of previous events. So what are the attendees' previous positive or negative memories and expectations at events? Maybe they, excuse me, attended an event and they really hated that their name was misspelled at registration. How can we think about these potential pitfalls ahead of time and make sure all the names are spelled correctly? How can we build and enhance a positive experience and resolve the negative experiences that they had at our event so that they don't hold this past against us? Now we get into emotional requirements. So this involves understanding how all of these other factors, including the cognitive and the previous examples, how these shape the attendees' emotional needs. And when we think of emotional needs, we're thinking of every emotion: happiness, stress, anxiety, euphoria, sadness, fear, like every high and every low. Again, we're thinking here about how we can design our event to enhance the positive moments, to have more of these desirable moments and minimize the ones that lead to these negative emotions. So we, again, are trying to sort of preemptively anticipate how someone might react positively or negatively, mitigate against those negative experiences, and boost and increase and enhance the positive ones. Now we have our social requirements. And so this, we want to understand how our attendees are affected by other attendees and how one attendee could affect the group. And so we're thinking about here the relationship that attendees have with one another, what relationship do they want with one another, and how it relates to those psychological, cognitive, and emotional factors. And so we want to enable opportunities for interaction that are going to enhance, develop, increase in a positive way these relationships, and again, mitigate against the negative or the unwanted relationships in the social environment. And finally, we have the environmental requirements. And so this is thinking about the physical space and what like physical requirements do we have of the event. So we're thinking about how we can basically build an environment, a physical space that is conducive to meeting all of the other outcomes that we talked about. This can also relate to virtual. So for example, if we're on Zoom, are we in a Zoom webinar or are we in a Zoom meeting? If we are wanting to build connection, then maybe being in a meeting format where everybody can see each other's videos is really helpful. But if we are trying to increase the learning element and not feel pressure from other attendees, maybe that's a concern of folks, then maybe we would do a webinar so that people don't see each other. They don't have to feel judged about, oh man, I can't attend this webinar because, you know, I don't want so-and-so to know that I don't know this thing, this skill that I say that I do. So maybe we have a videos off webinar in order to sort of protect anonymity there. And so these are a ton of questions. I threw a bunch at you. And basically the goal of all of this attendee data is to build your audience personas. And so this is just kind of a random example. You're not meant to read the words. That's why it's really small. So don't worry about squinting at the screen. But what I wanted to show you here is what an audience persona could look like. So typically they have a face. And so when in marketing, when we're building audience personas, we're literally like picking a person. We're giving them a name, we're giving them an age, we're selecting their demographics. And so maybe we are building out 3 personas. Maybe one of them is a parent, one of them is single, and one of them is married without kids. Maybe one of them is in California, one's in New York, and one is in small town Iowa. Maybe their behavioral identifiers then speak to their locations. Maybe the person in Iowa is really motivated by digital inclusion and group and community efforts versus the folks who are in big cities are really motivated by conferences and events they can attend since they have more access. So again, these are examples, but I think it's really helpful to see sort of what the end goal looks like for an audience persona. So again, you want to have a name, an image, an age, a location, the industry that they work in. Oftentimes you'll have personality traits on a scale. So you can have someone being a little bit more extroverted, a little bit more introverted, or somewhere in the middle. Maybe someone is a little bit more creative, a little bit more analytical, or somewhere in the middle. Maybe they're really loyal or really motivated by money or what have you. So putting in their personality and then putting in their goals, frustrations, and motivations like we talked about previously. And then also oftentimes you'll see brands on customer personas. So thinking through what are some brands that this person has an affinity towards? You know, I don't like to name drop and promote different brands, but let's just say you're into really clean design. And so this person really likes Apple, or you are into like a more friendly, inviting approach that has sustainability built in mind. So you think about Lyft's electric bikes, or, you know, there's different ways to think about the brands that people are motivated by. But again, having them be sort of with your industry and without, or within your industry and outside of your industry is also very helpful. So you can see different trends and commonalities between them. Okay, so next, we know our audience now. Now we are going to map the journey. And so what does that mean? So journey mapping is basically taking us through every touch point that an attendee will have related to an event. So it starts at awareness. Awareness could be everything from receiving an email invitation to this event. It could be seeing your post on LinkedIn talking about this event. It could be somebody else tagging you in a post on LinkedIn saying, hey, check this out. So awareness is really like the first or the first few times that someone learns about the brand, the event, etc. Then typically we get from awareness and then we get to action and someone registers. So we want to think about what that registration process is. Are we asking for name and email only? Do we want to use this to get some audience data? So maybe we're asking for age, location. Maybe we're asking for industry. We're asking for title and company name. What do you want to get out of this registration? Registration forms, I think, are the most useful and the most forgotten tool because it's free data. And so while we want to be mindful of the experience and not require too much, we also do want to use this time to get the data that we can use to build the best event for our audience. And so keep in mind, registration is a very important part of the journey. From registration, we're thinking about any sort of communications that are sent to them ahead of time. So there's emails, sometimes I sign up for those emails where people are providing services like how to make $1 million in a week or something, right? And I get an email every 12 hours, right? And I'm over it and I unsubscribe. But sometimes I get really strategic emails before events and it tells me what I need to wear and what I need to bring and what the agenda is. And it's like logistics focused and it doesn't feel spammy. Those are the emails that I like, right? So again, we're thinking about the comms touch points. And then at the event, we're thinking about presentations. Maybe if there's multiple different speakers, we're seeing how many attendees stayed for each one, whether virtual or in person. If there's different breakout rooms and maybe they're based on different themes, we're seeing who chose which room and how many. So thinking through the presentations and then networking. Again, if there's an opportunity to network either digitally or live, whether it's in the chat, whether it's in Slack or WhatsApp, a different group, maybe it's an in-person networking time, thinking about the experience. Are we providing any sort of icebreakers? Are we asking any sort of questions? Are we color coordinating name tags so that people know if you're wearing a green name tag, you work in sustainability and I want to talk to you? Thinking strategically through the networking experience as part of the attendee's journey. And finally, post-event. So we're thinking about the survey and post-event communications. Again, trying to anticipate any challenges that people might have, any questions that they might have. We want to get ahead of them and be able to provide all of these things without them asking. So we know one of the most common questions we get on virtual events are, is this going to be recorded? Is it going to be sent out? Right? And so let's anticipate that and include it in all of our comms. Say it at the top of the event. Put it in writing in the chat. All of these things so that folks don't even have to ask the question, you already thought about them. So some other considerations while we're journey mapping are the 5 senses. So see, hear, touch, smell, taste. As we are planning the event and planning each touch point on the journey, consider how we can incorporate the 5 senses. Again, it gets a little bit more challenging when you're virtual, but it is absolutely still possible. So when we're thinking about seeing, we're thinking about visually, what are they seeing? Is there a variety of things and people that they're seeing? Is it just one image the whole time? What are they hearing? Is it one voice, many voices? Is there music? Like what types of things are they hearing? Is there anything they can touch? Maybe there's, you ask for them to grab a piece of paper off their desk, or if they're in person, maybe there's a folder that they have access to. Smell, again, virtually kind of challenging, but maybe you send them a gift box ahead of time and there's a candle and you ask everybody to light it. Or taste, maybe in that gift box, there's barbecue sauce that is local to the city that you were from and you're hosting the event in, and you want everyone to take a taste so they can feel like they are where you're from. There's ways to get creative about this, but the memorable experiences are when you can evoke all 5 senses. So it's really important to keep these things in mind. Additionally, you want to consider the 4 types of learners. Again, we're talking about the journey mapping, and so we want to be really considerate of the different learning types that we'll have in the audience, so that while we're building the agenda, while we're building the different touch points upon the journey, we can make sure to engage everybody and sort of meet them where they are. And so Learning types. So we think about these four. So first we have visual. So this is someone who learns by seeing. People who learn by seeing like a lot of pictures. They like a lot of charts, a lot of graphics, maybe even slideshows and having lots of decks. So having something they can look at to learn. The auditory learners. These are people who learn by hearing. So for this type of learning, we want to definitely include verbal instructions. Maybe there's a point of the event where we go into breakouts or we turn to the person next to us and you repeat what you learned to a friend. Maybe this is where we have group discussions, right? So learn by hearing so they can have many different touch points to hear. People who learn by reading and writing. This is when maybe you want to send a book list. Folks who want to do some reading ahead of the event or after the event to dive in deeper. We want to have note takers or encourage people to take their own notes. Maybe you have notepads for them. Worksheets, you can send out a worksheet ahead of time so that people can fill in the worksheet while they're on a virtual event. And learn by doing. So these are our kinesthetic learners. This is where we want to incorporate body movements. We want to think about our tactile learners, people who need to have their hands on, sort of touch and feel experiences to really fully absorb the information. And so now that we have learned our audience, we have mapped the journey. So we've established the different touch points for our audience. We also want to add in the wow moments. So let's talk about how to design these wow moments. Okay, so first there's a concept called surprise and delight. And so surprise and delight is really, I mean, it's pretty literal. It's like you want to give your audience something that surprises them, something that they weren't expecting, and it'll put a smile on their face. So an example here is sending a care package to a either current or potential customer. If you know, for example, that they're with child or having a kid soon, they're pregnant, you could send them a onesie with your company name on it and a little care package. Maybe you know that they are going to be pregnant at your physical event. You have this care package for them. Maybe they are breastfeeding and you make sure in their welcome materials to tell them where the room to breastfeed is. So something that really surprises them, makes them feel special, makes them feel like you thought about them in a way that they hadn't even considered, right? And so the studies show that 94% of customers who received a special gift or recognition from a company felt more positive about the company. So 94%, this is pretty much a flawless method. And so you can think about other things like if you want to send like a surprise and delight, like a free coupon, maybe you sell jewelry and it's like free ring with your purchase. Something just to make people feel good is going to help them feel better about your company. And then of those 94%, 34% of those customers said that the experience of receiving that surprise gift or special recognition led the company to more business. And so again, this is saying about a third of those people who you're going to surprise and delight are going to make a purchase. If not multiple purchases, they're going to spread the word. And so again, really simple, easy ways that you can help increase your business. Another example is customization. So this is so clutch, right? Like people want things that they can make their own. And so an example of how this might look. So I went to Complex Con, which is a conference that Complex puts on every year in LA. And Nike had this huge sort of event experiential booth. And what they allowed you to do was customize your shoes. So it's on brand, it promotes their product, and it hits the point of customization. And so folks could leave having a custom pair of Nikes, and I'm damn sure they think about that experience every time they wear those shoes and every time they get a compliment, right? So how can we think about something like that? How can you use the service or product that you're offering and provide a custom option for your audience? Also personalization. So in this example, you're seeing, maybe we're giving notebooks to everybody, but we're making sure that they get the notebook with their first letter of their first name on the notebook, right? And so something that feels like we were thinking about them as an individual. And so we see that 77% of consumers are choosing, recommending, and paying more for a brand that provides a personalized service or experience. And so again, this is like you can already take what you're doing and add this element of personalization as an add-on to your business and increase your business by 77%, essentially. Whether those are 77% are actually purchasing it or recommending it to someone else, they're willing to pay more for that product or that service to be customized. And so, in conclusion, I like to think about the key to success is providing a unique and memorable experience where everyone feels like they belong no matter how they identify. And so today we talked about knowing your audience, mapping their journey, and building those wow moments, all to really tap into event marketing to build your business, tap into your audience to increase the lead generation, to increase your revenue through moments of personalization, customization, and surprise and delight. And so I just want to say thank you. Again, my name is Andrea Long. If you're looking for diversity consulting experience, I can help you at andrealong.co. And if you're looking for an event planner to come and bring all of these ideas to life for your brand, you can reach out to Firewood Events. So again, thanks for having me, and I hope you have a good rest of the summit.
So amazing. Andrea, you were just backstage and it flipped off. Let me see if I can pull you up. Okay, I see you again. I'm bringing you on, Mama. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, I can.
Hi. That was so rich, sis. So rich. And I have to ask, is your co-founder on the Asayo side, Kelly Nayo?
Yep. We're cousins, actually.
What? I love me some Kelly.
Yes.
Okay. Good people. Good people. Okay. Dope. I'm not going to take any of your time, sis, because folks have a lot of questions and we want to get to all of them. Okay. But so rich, so detailed, and so needed for us. I'm going to show the first question on the stage, and Alexis, get ready to maybe raise your hand if Andrea wants more context. So Alexis asks, from an attendee point of view, is there a way to spot or find events that have used experience design services?
So yeah, I mean, I would love more context if you are able to come on screen. I have some initial thoughts, but if you're here, would love that.
Here, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, so this is actually a really huge pain point for me because, obviously we have to go to a lot of events as a CEO and entrepreneurs, and oftentimes, like I use like Eventbrite to find events, and then I go to these events and it's like I'm not sure this is for me or it was meant for me, or there will be times where I'll go like to tech events and they have a DJ and the music is playing so loud that I can't get my bearings. I can't talk to anybody. I can't make connections. So is there any way to determine if an event has done this type of work, so that I'm not wasting my time? I'm already like super introverted. I didn't want to go in the first place, but now I've talked myself into going. I want to make sure that I'm going and I'm actually walking away with connections that are going to move my business forward.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. So initially, I would say probably not, but I think that there are some ways that I would go about it. So, like, first of all, I would look at the invitation and see, like, how detailed is it? Like, how much information are they giving? Is there someone that I could reach out to? I would maybe reach out to the organizer and say, hey, here are my goals. Like, here's what I'm looking for. I just want to check in. Like, is this that type of event or is this not? And maybe ask some questions. I think that trying to spot an event that has like been well designed and has experience designed in mind might be a little bit challenging, but thinking through, even if you do register for the event, like, are you getting communications ahead of time, or is it crickets? Like things like that might signal to me someone who has been more thoughtful in their planning. Do you get a frequently asked questions document before the event or not? Like, do you get the link ahead of time if it's virtual, or like, are you waiting until an hour before to know where the location is? Like little things like that would signal to me that they have a planner who's really being mindful of things. But frankly, I would just reach out, especially if you don't want to waste your time. Reach out and ask them, is there going to be a networking portion? is the music going to be low enough where I can have a conversation, or is this more of a party?
I love it. Thank you so much. I don't want to take up any more time. Thank you.
For sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexis. And I hope you see this, Andrea. The chat is blowing up. Like, you are getting so many standing ovations and wows. And so please soak this in. I agree. Like, you killed that.
Thank you, everyone. I know it was like a lot of information, a lot of content, but I think it's so important because these are things we don't necessarily talk about and necessarily think about. So I tried to put as much as I could in there. So definitely watch
it. Listen, you did that. Yeah, I'm gonna hit you up on the side about these in-person pilgrimages we're gonna start doing.
Yes.
You got it, sis. You got it. Okay, so this one is from Crystal Pollen, and she asks, in studying your audience, how do you get to the level of detail, so psychological, demographic, etc., suitable to build an audience persona?
Yeah. So this is a great question. So there's a few ways to go about this. And again, my background is in marketing. So I often think about like how marketers and how marketing teams will do this, and how we can translate that into us as small business owners. So first, like I said, if you are planning an event, use that registration data. It's highly missed. People overlook it all the time, but like it's a place where people have to fill it out, right? And so you're going to get some information there. A lot of surveys are helpful. So if you do one of those like, hey, fill this out and be entered in a raffle to win $100 type surveys, you can get some important questions answered there. Or even if maybe you have a product and it's like, you get 10% off, 15% off for filling out this survey. Surveying data is really important. And then also, look at the trends of your audiences. So maybe let's say you send out a newsletter, and in that newsletter, there's maybe 3 CTAs. There's 3 areas where you can click. Look at the data to say which ones are people clicking. Like that will show which one they were motivated by. So you can get really creative with, depending on what your business is and how you communicate with folks. I think there's like different approaches to collecting data. There's not one size fits all kind of approach. So definitely use different data points or different sources of the data is what I would say.
I say so good. Look now, Andrea, you had like our marketing manager isn't here in the comments going off. I love that y'all see it too. Our rising creative director, yes, sis, you're gonna get some business from all of us. Okay.
I'm ready. We're ready for you.
We appreciate you. So this one is coming from Dr. Denise, and she asks, is there a checklist available for the demographics and behavioral identifiers for our audience that you shared from your presentation?
I haven't seen a thorough checklist, so maybe Firewood Events will make one. But I will say some resources that I use a lot that I could recommend, like HubSpot usually has a lot of really good blogs and a lot of really good resources. So I might check to see if they have one there. What other, like Splash That is a virtual event platform, similar to AirMeet, where they're more on the registration side actually, but they have a really intense detailed blog, and so Splash That might have some good resources, but I haven't seen honestly one comprehensive checklist that I could recommend right now.
Thanks, Andrea. And those are good recs for peers in the market. And then this one is from a fellow experience designer, I would say. So Rakita asks, as a facilitator of experiences, but not an event planner, how do you recommend that I create audience personas?
Yeah, I mean, I wonder, are you here? Could I ask you a follow-up question? Because it definitely depends on what kind of experiences you're planning, perhaps.
Gotcha. Rakita, I'm gonna try to put you on the stage. I don't know if you're on your mobile or not, but I'll try to bring you up. I just hit the invite button.
If not, no worries. I'm definitely putting you on the spot.
Oh no, she's good. She's good. She's built for this. It says that she's setting up her mic and stuff now. So.
Oh, okay, cool.
I still can't see you yet, Rakita, but if you're coming, I did get a notification that you're setting up your mic. Okay, there she is.
Okay, y'all can hear me?
Yeah.
Cool beans. I love this session. This session was everything to me. Like, I feel like Casey had me in mind when she saw you. She was like, this is for Rakita.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. The social experience is designed to connect teams, groups, um, through reflection, conversation, and commonality. So I would work with an event planner within like a conference space to facilitate the networking for the group with customized prompts, the music, all of the things, or also with a group like during a retreat or on board and to connect teams through those bonding sessions. So that's how I facilitate these experiences, but I'm not exactly the event planner.
Understood. Okay, cool. Thank you for that clarification. So I think things that come to mind for me are doing user surveys, or like what are they called? Like I forget the proper name for them, but when I started my swag business, I basically reached out to a whole bunch of people who I thought could be my audience, and I interviewed them. And I said, when do you make a purchase decision? Like, how do you decide who to purchase with? Like, what are your budgets typically? How much lead time do you have? Like, asking all these really rich questions. And thankfully, I have a network that was like willing to spend 15 minutes with me, and I didn't have to pay them. But sometimes I've done those as a user, and people pay me like $30, $50 for an hour. And so being able to like reach out to the people who are your intended purchasers to ask these questions might be your best bet, since you're not necessarily having direct communication or direct messaging with the attendees, since you're not the event planner. So that's what comes to mind initially for me.
All right. Thank you very much. That was very helpful.
Thank you.
Thanks for the question, Rakita. Appreciate you, Mama. All right, so good, so good. I'm gonna keep rolling. Let me watch the time. Okay, we do have a few more minutes. Great questions. So many too. Okay, this is a diverse one actually. So this one is from China, and she asks, if my business caters to the youth and they are not active on social media and have no way of seeing the information themselves, would I cater the events to the parents and guardians of the youth?
Yes. So again, sort of following up on what I just said, like, you want to cater to the person making the purchasing decision. So whether it's actually they're purchasing something with money or they're just deciding to go and attend, you want to make sure that your marketing and your experience are catered to them with the youth in mind, I think, right? Because it's like, it's the parents that are going to be the ones who are saying, yeah, we're going to make time for this. We're going to get in the car. We're going to go here, or we're going to attend virtually. I think there's some element to say, like, a kid has a choice depending on how old the youth are, right? Like, if it's someone between the ages of 14 and 18, first of all, they are on social media, but second of all, like, they have some influence over their parents to say, hey, I want to do this. So I think that's when you can target both audiences. But I would think about really 75-80% targeted at the parents, since it sounds like your youth that you're working with is probably a little bit younger, so they need their parents to attend.
So good. And I'm glad someone asked that question. Great one, China, because I think about that often, right? Like I wonder to myself a lot whether Black women entrepreneurs understand what to do around Christmas time if they're selling toys. Because we actually see the big folks do it very well. Like, literally around the holidays, they crank it up in the marketing, right? And I wonder whether we unpack that enough. Like, how? Like, what are they showing to the kids versus what they're showing to the mommy, right? Like, when do they show the tired mom, get this for your kid and they'll be quiet? Like, it's so many, the persona. Yeah. So I'm happy you're in the room, and I'm happy somebody asked that question. Beautiful. All right, Ursula, I'm going to show your question on stage, but you might need to raise your hand. Just hit the right hand button for more context, just in case Andrea needs more context. But the question asks, have you ever designed an event considering the host or hosts or even administrators as the user?
Yeah, I would love more context if that's
okay.
If you're here, Ursula.
Yeah, Ursula, if you can hit the hand button, I can bring you on stage. If you want to give more context, I don't see. Okay, I see her hand now. All right, so let me move that. Ursula, you have the mic now.
So when you're talking about designing an event, experience, like an experience design, it's not, and it's like a final product. It's an experience for the participants or attendees, but it's also an experience for the people hosting it or administering it. So
what kind of product are you talking about, Ursula? I think that might be helpful.
For example, the whole, because there's a whole experience with administering events or whatever, like I don't know, like for people who have to host and administer events, like how difficult it is for them to put on the show, like everything from intake to logistics, you know, what tools do they have available, whether it's paper tools, maybe paper applications, maybe those tools are digital, these are digital forms, or maybe it's a interactive digital form. You know, what
so
part
you mean more like have I ever designed an event for other event hosts or administrators?
Right.
Gotcha. So I have not. I have led event teams in my corporate life. So I've trained like event coordinators to come on, but I haven't hosted an event like that. Great business idea. Thank you. Maybe I will. But I think it's a really interesting point, right? Because as event professionals, like it's really important for us to trade knowledge and for us to share resources and for us to say, hey, I tested this thing out and it didn't work, or I tested this out and it did work. I'm a part of a lot of different communities, online communities with event professionals. And so that's where, frankly, I get a lot of my knowledge share in regards to here's this new tool, or like when AirMeet came out, I remember people were talking about AirMeet versus like, why would I use AirMeet versus Hopin, for example. And so finding those communities has been really helpful to me. I personally haven't hosted something for that community, but I definitely like see the value. And if you want to DM me on LinkedIn or on the side or whatever, I'm happy to share some of those communities if you are an event host yourself.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thanks, Ursula.
Great.
I agree. Such a good question. And I will say, somebody in the market that does this very, very well, what Ursula is talking about is AirMeet. Like, they do not send an event for the sake of sending an event. And I actually attend their events, and they're not targeting my audience. They're targeting me. It's very deep, right? And during those sessions, I mean, it is people from around the entire world, and they show us the new tools. They show us spatial audio and literally show how our audience members can move around the space and be close together and hear each other very well, be far apart. We used it last summer for the summer 2022, and it was a hit, but only because I attended the event. Because for them, they don't wait for you to know a new button to click, right? They showed us how to integrate Typeform. Y'all experienced that on Friday, but yeah, nobody else in the market today, like Zoom does not do that for me, right? Like Kajabi doesn't do that for me. I don't use Kajabi, but you know,
yeah, I think there's a lot of event tools out there that are doing basically educational webinars like that.
Yeah.
So sometimes, like for Asana, for example, I get emails that say, check out our new products or our new product applications or whatever. And I'll watch their like 2-minute video, but I don't really get it. But if I attend an event where someone's showing it to me and explaining it, it's so much better.
Yeah. And even, okay, I'm gonna be quiet after this, but even for you as a, you know, you're talking about noodle on this idea, like AirMeet actually has a 24/7, literally a 24/7 AirMeet that exists, where during any of our events, if we want to hop in and sit at a lounge table with them and get real-time help, they will answer the question, we can hop back in. Oh, it's an experience. So yeah, it's crazy. Okay. Okay, I see another question. This will be we might be able to get 2 more in actually. So this one is from Christina, and she asks, how do you remain authentic but still diversify your audience / customer more effectively or effectively?
Yeah, so I love this question because I like pride myself on remaining authentic and not sort of bending in order to get audience or to gain. Like, we live in such a capitalistic society. I'm like, I'm gonna still be myself, even though if I change myself, I would get more dollars, right? And so I think it's really important to decide who you are in business and who your audience is. Like, are you someone who wants to remain authentic no matter what, even if it's at the cost of customers or product sales? And if you're not that person, that's fine too, right? Like, again, capitalistic society, we got to do what we got to do. We got bills to pay. And then additionally, who is your audience? So I had this conversation with someone recently. One of my clients is launching a professional development group for women. And she brought me on Firewood Events to host their launch event. One of the first conversations I had was, okay, I know you're a Black woman. I know all of the photos you've posted have been of Black women, but nowhere on your website or nowhere in your marketing does it say that this group is just for Black women. And so is this group for Black women, or is it for everyone? And she kind of had to pause and think about it and mull it over and get back to me, and eventually came back and she was like, as much as I would love for it to be for all women, because it increases basically the amount of money I can make, I really feel passionate about Black women, so I'm going to narrow down the focus. And so with that, I give you that example to say, like, I think it's really important for you to understand what diversify your audience means. Like, what is diverse in the context of your personal business, because it means something different to everybody. And in that case, like, my client was able to remain authentic to herself to say, I could help more people, but I really want to narrow the focus. And so I challenge you to ask yourself questions in order to answer that question.
Ashe. So good. I see a lot of wows in the chat. Thank you so much, Andrea. And I'm glad you said everything, but I'm glad you said that point too. Like, literally was in a pitch competition, I think 3 weeks ago. And the folks asked me that, and that was the last one. Like, this is so good. Would you ever expand beyond Black women? Like, and they said to get more revenue and more market share. And I said, absolutely not. Knowing good and well that if they didn't like that answer, I wouldn't get didn't get it. Now we won. We got it. We got the funding. We got the cohort, whatever, right? But you're right. Had I not asked myself those controversial questions first, I would have lied. Like, well, no, yeah, we're inclusive. Women of color. So good.
And I mean, I have the same, one quick anecdote. I had the same challenge when I made my swag business with Kelly, actually. So Swag by Asayo. Yeah. When we were starting, we were very specifically, we want to only have Black and Latinx owned product in our boxes. Like, that was really important to us. And then we had a client who came to us and said, hey, we actually want to add some indigenous, some products from Native people. Are you open to that? And we had to have a conversation and say, okay, is this aligned with our business goals and our mission? Is it not? We're like, this is good. We're in for this, right? Like, this is solid. And then we had another client who came to us and said, hey, we want to add this Asian woman-owned product into our business. And we're like, okay, we have to have this conversation again. And so I think it's important to also reiterate that it's not just a one-time decision. Like, you're probably going to be faced with many challenges and many just like bumps in the road along the way to say, oh, is it still true? Or am I at a place where I want to change my mind a little bit or adjust?
So good. Someone in the chat said you are a well of info, and you absolutely are. Y'all definitely tap in with Firewood Events. Andrea, you are incredible. You are phenomenal. Sending love to both you and Kelly. Y'all are super dope. Doing the real work out there. So thank you.
Thanks so much for having me, and thanks for all the feedback, everyone. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. And everyone, remember to do the polls. Okay, remember to answer the polls that are in the event feed. To the right side, you'll see the poll section. If you are on the mobile app, remember that is on your events tab in the middle of your mobile app and on the right side. Okay, definitely give our speakers feedback. We share all of this feedback with them so they can see their ratings, so that they can continue, right, to frame their knowledge in ways that edify the audience. Now, we are about to blitz into a couple of things, so I need y'all to be ready. We're going into a Blaze talk called From Surviving to Thriving. Okay, From Surviving to Thriving from Monet Quarles. And then we're going into another DJ set for today. The first one of today, DJ Red Corvette is going to be on the ones and twos. She is from the Bay Area, but living in Brooklyn right now. And then we're going to go into, be ready for this, the AI talk. Okay, it is called Hire a Tool, Chat GPT and Friends. If you have been wondering, we have a whole panel of folk. They're going to break down these concepts around AI. Okay, so that's the order of events. I will see you in the next session. This is a Blaze talk from Surviving to Thriving, and then we're going to hit the DJ set.